Hey, what's up, everybody? Bitcoin has finally made it down to this zone in here. I've been thinking about this zone, right? You got all of this support in here, support right there. So this is a very key area for Bitcoin. So let's see, once we're down here, which we are, let's see how we react. Because my thinking is we should find some support in here, and then we should get a retrace. Now, what about the death cross? We just had a death cross. Well, a lot of times when you get a death cross, the price actually rallies after the death cross, just like how the price dumps when you get a golden cross. So, but then after it dumps, then it continues to pump. And then same thing here, right? You had the death cross, right, as we're dumping. And then everyone's like, oh my God, death cross, we're going to go short. And then what happens is we go back up, and then the moving averages get weighted down, and then you go back down, right? Or retrace. So I think we should get at least a 3-wave retrace in here, something like that. And then that could be enough for something like XRP, with the help of an ETF, with the help of regulation, get it into price discovery, right? Because if we put on XRP for a second here, and we scroll down, we really have 1, 2, 3, 3 down, 3 up, and then potentially 5 down. So a 3-wave move. So I'm looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all we need, guys, is a wave 5. And we could literally get that wave 5 in a Bitcoin retrace. So it's good that Bitcoin is dumping. We want it to dump, 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 dump. We want it to dump even harder, because that way we get a bigger retrace. So if this thing can come down, right, we don't want it to take the low. We want it to, we want it to be somewhat hold up in here, because, this is a pretty big dump, but we want to see a retrace. The reason why we want a bigger dump is so we could get a bigger reaction when we get the retrace. It's not a guarantee that you're going to get the retrace, but most of the time you do, especially if this thing comes down like further here, you're going to get some kind of a retrace in here, some kind of a retrace, right? So that retrace could be the ammunition needed for something like XRP to, again, all we need for XRP. If you just look at this chart, right? First of all, we've been in a bear market for the last 8 years. This thing's been consolidating for 8 years. Right? Building a base, reaccumulation, right? Have a massive impulse. You got this flat work in here, right? So if Bitcoin gets that retrace, like let's say it starts to go up in the retrace, that's all XRP needs to potentially get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then finish the move somewhere, $8, $9, $10. So it doesn't take that much effort. You say, oh, no way, that's impossible. Well, that's exactly what happened last time. If we put on Bitcoin on the screen here, you could see Bitcoin had already topped, and that's when XRP exploded off the low, right? That's when we were consolidating in here. You had this big crash. It wasn't looking good. You had this running flat in here. And then Bitcoin had already topped, but then XRP exploded after the fact. Same thing back over here. If you look, Bitcoin's going up, 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 and then it crashes, and then it goes into a retrace. Well, guess what XRP did during the crash and the retrace? Let's go down to a smaller time frame so we could see it a little bit better. But essentially, you could see XRP exploded off the low here as Bitcoin was crashing, as Bitcoin was retracing. Then once Bitcoin was finished retracing, then they both crashed together, right? They both crashed together. You could see, look at the rally going up here. Bitcoin's first, and then XRP later on, right? So Bitcoin came up, it had a crash, and then it had a retrace, okay? So remember that. Okay, so if the bear market is here for Bitcoin, remember, Bitcoin has been in a bull market for the last couple, year or so, 2 years, right? And if you want to count the whole thing, you could say since 2023. I'm sorry, let's go back to Bitcoin here. Was it 2023? Yeah, so you could see, and this is really when we went into price discovery in here, right? So once we break into price discovery, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so think about XRP being right here. All we need is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we could get that 5-wave move inside of a Bitcoin retrace. So yes, it's bearish. The price is still coming down. It's still coming down. Let's look at the small time frames here. Oh yeah, it's still coming down. There's no end in sight right here. I mean, it's a little bit interesting because you kind of have like this diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's kind of getting tight, kind of like a rising wedge in here. But it could, if it falls through the floor, then obviously it's invalidated. But there you go. But let's zoom out again. So again, let's let it come down. Let's let it find a floor in here. Right? It could be a little bit lower. I don't know exactly where, but I would imagine, I mean, look at this. Look at all of this, right? Let's put a line right there. That's kind of where we're at, right there. You could see all of these little wicks in here. So you could put one there, and we can put another one a little bit lower, like right there. So that's kind of the little area I would expect. And then you have this lower part of the range right in here. So you got, this level and this level. So let's just say one big level. And once we find that floor, again, we want to see a retrace. And during the retrace, let's see how XRP responds in that environment. If it doesn't respond, then two things. Either one, XRP had already topped, but that doesn't negate the fact that XRP won't go to $8 to $10. I believe full-heartedly that it will. Now, I don't know if that's... Now, the timing of that is challenging, because if it already topped, then either you're going into a continuation of the bear market, or sort of like a mid-cycle correction. But anyways, same thing goes with Ethereum. If you look at Ethereum real quick here, Ethereum is coming down. You don't want it to come down too much more aggressively. But there's two things that could happen here with Ethereum. Number one, again, remember Bitcoin. Let's do this so that we don't get confused. So here we go. So here's Bitcoin right here, and let's put on a line there and a line there. There's our zone. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And then let's go and zoom out here a little bit for Ethereum. Perfect. Okay, so look at this. So once Bitcoin chills out in here, and then we start to rally into a retrace, which may or may not happen. It's likely to happen. It's very likely to happen. But that's what I'm thinking. We're going to get a retrace. Okay, so as we get the retrace, now let's go to Ethereum, right? Ethereum's the same thing. Ethereum's also going to get a retrace. But here's the difference. Two things could happen. Number one, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then as Bitcoin gets the retrace, then we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's done. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's done. The cycle is over. The bull market is over. We got 5 waves. We hit the big target, 8 to 10,000 or whatever, right? So that's how the cycle's in, right? If the only way you get a big alt season is if either Bitcoin is breaking into price discovery, or if Bitcoin had already topped, right? And then it's working on the retrace. So if Bitcoin did top, this is the perfect environment. Look, we're in Q4. Bitcoin potentially is topping. This is the perfect environment to get a mini alt season. Probably won't last long. It'll be maybe 2 weeks. 20 days. That's all it took for XRP last time, and Ethereum. Or maybe Ethereum was a little longer. So again, you get a retrace, and then this could lead us to a big 5 wave, and then we go into a bear market, then we go into a bear market. So that is the best case scenario. Well, actually, there's another case too, which is if Bitcoin hasn't topped, for example, this could be a flat. This could be 3 down, 3 up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. This could be a massive running or expanded or a regular flat here. And then we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we actually have another high, which is still totally on the table, but the oscillator, we broke below the 50 week, which is bad, right? If you look at the weekly chart, and let's throw on this here, not that. Where is our... So you can see here's our 50 week, right? And you can see we kind of went down a little bit here. Look right here. You have you have a flat A, B, C. Look at the flat. And then we went slightly under the 50. Same thing here. We went below it. But this is different. We have a massive engulfing weekly candle break below and close below. So this changes the game. Not only that, you have 7 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Anytime you get 7 waves, it's really likely that it's most likely topped. So, but again, there's two options here. There's only 2 options. The first option is we come down here, we get a retrace, and then we go into a bear market for Bitcoin and everything else, a continuation. The second option is that this is a flat, and then we're going to go up and take the top, and then we go into a bear market. So either way, we should get a bounce. We should get some kind of recovery. And this is where I would get rid, or if this is the case, I will sell some of my crypto to protect myself from the bear market. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do that in the retrace. So if the price really wants to get nasty and nasty and nasty and come way the hell down here, well, guess what? I'm still going to get a retrace. Okay? I'm still going to get a retrace. It might not go as high. It might not go as high, but I'm still going to get a retrace. So there you go. And here's the difference between XRP and Ethereum. Now, XRP and Ethereum can both, let's go back to, Ethereum right here. Again, Bitcoin gets a retrace. Ethereum has the chance to break out and go into an extension. But if Bitcoin comes down here and then, has this flat and it actually takes the top, and during that time Ethereum doesn't break out but it only goes into a retrace, well, then I would expect it to then crash, and then that's our bear market, and then we go into a retrace, right? So there's the crash, there's the C wave, and then we go into a retrace, and then that's when we blast off. So there's another way that could play out, right? So let's do this. Okay, so we look at Ethereum here, and another thing too, so if we look at both of these right here, another thing too is if this comes up and Ethereum also comes up, and then it starts to come down, and it also comes down, then we have one more chance being a 3-way move. So either this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, right? We get down here, and then we go into wave 5. That's option 1. Option 2 is, we do the same thing. We come up into a retrace. Ethereum also goes into a retrace. It does not break out, and then Bitcoin comes down, and then Ethereum comes down, and it creates a bigger 3-way move. And then when we get another retrace, that could be the ammunition needed to take off, right? Because even any way you slice it and dice it, you got this big impulse here. So this could be A, B, C, and then we take off, right? So let's just keep it like that for now. Again, let's see. You know, I'd imagine we would find some support in here. We're going to find support in here. We're going to get a retrace. The difference is, how does that retrace look? Does it look corrective? Does it look like it had the energy to break out? It could also be like, you know, like say 3 down, 3 up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, and then we break out, right? We have some kind of a 3-way move in here. You could say, well, how would Ethereum do that if Bitcoin's going into a bear market? Well, it would happen in the retrace. It would happen in the retrace. So, yeah, that's basically it. And the same thing goes with everything else, right? So, and if you look at like Litecoin, well, I don't know if Litecoin can go into price discovery. It might only just, you know, if Bitcoin gets a retrace and by some miracle we get some kind of a, you know, a quick alt season here, then we could, you know, come up here and tag the high before continuing more bearish, right? Because look, Litecoin's been in a bear market since 2017, okay? That's been a long time ago, right? So 2017, basically 2018. So it's been in a bear market for 8 years, right? So it's had every opportunity to do its thing and it hasn't, right? So again, we're looking at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's like, hey, look, I've been going up for 3 years. You guys didn't go up. You know, what's going on? And a lot of it has to do with what's going on politically, what's going on with the Fed and the money and the printing and the interest rates and the economy and the stock market and all that crap, right? So, but anyway, I look at this. I look at Ethereum and I think it's super bullish, right? Because you have, look at the base you just made right there. You know, the only way this is bearish is if this whole thing is a 3-way move, which it could be, but I don't like the proportions, right? If this is for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you have 5 up, you have 3 down, and then you would get, you know, 5 up again, but I just don't really like that. I don't see that. What I see is an impulse. You have 3 waves down, you have 3 waves up, and you have 3 waves down. So you have a W, X, Y. You have a running flat. You have a beautiful base, right? And you broke, or you caught the low here, right? You made a higher high, right at the all-time high. So every time we hit the all-time high, we're weakening the structure. Then we get rejected. We come all the way down. So what's going to happen is 2 things. Either one, we get a retrace, and then we make another low, and then we break out. Or number 2, we just go and break out. But obviously, worst case scenario, we would get a retrace, and then we would come down, and then this would have to kind of go into some reaccumulation and then go later on. And then this is kind of your mid-cycle correction or whatever, right? So let's see how it plays out, right? We're going into Q4. It's pretty bullish. But what's really interesting, too, is this trend line right here. Let me pump it up to the weekly here, and you know, you could kind of see this trend line here, and if we look, I gotta put it up a little bit more right there. You could see right here how it's, you know, obviously you have the first hit, 1, 2, slightly missed that one, you got it here, but then look at right here, you have all of those candles bouncing here. So this trend line is very important, I think. So, and it's a little bit further to go. And then also, you know, if we just take this line like this and then stretch it out like that and then put this line right there, that's our little intersection right here. So somewhere in this zone, we should hold some support. Somewhere in here. right? And then we should get that bounce. So it's coming. I think it's coming. And this is good. You know, Sunday was bearish. Monday was bearish. That's good. That's what you want. You want a bearish Monday so that it sets up Tuesday, Wednesday, or really Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It sets us up for a counter trend rally, right? Or a retrace. So let's see. I mean, we might not get it this week. It might just be more down this week, maybe go sideways a little bit next week, and then get the retrace. But either way, you know, I'm looking for a retrace. If we take a fib and we go from the bottom to the top, you can see where, and you can also see, look at where the 618. The 618 is at the intersection of not only this trend line, but the horizontal support line. So you have a trifecta, right? You have a demand trend line, you have horizontal support, and you have the 618. So everything is saying $2,700. So we're really close. We're getting there. So I would, not financial advice, but I would put my bids up here at 2,700, around there. So there you go. That's basically it. But right now, I still think there's more downside. I still think this is going to go a little bit lower. You see there's some support down in here. And that's also at 2,700, right? So same trend line. So we got a little bit further to go. And then if you look closely, you could see 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we finish the wave. And then we kind of, you know, play around in here and then maybe get that retrace. So is it bearish? Yes, of course it's bearish. Obviously, you know, this was bullish. This is bearish. So once the bearish is over, we should go bullish again. The markets go up, the markets go down. It's just the way it works. Don't think that, oh, we're going down, so we have to keep going down forever. No, we've been going down since all the way back in August. Think about that. Ethereum has been going down since August. So August, September, October, November. That's, you know, we're going down. So eventually, you know, we should find some support in here and start trending or reversing or retracing back to the upside. And I'm picking Ethereum because that's the, you know, that's the daddy, right? And then XRP, unfortunately, does not have a lot of room to go down. So, you know, but here's the cool part. You know, we have the 200. Well, that's, let me get rid of that. Let's go to the weekly here, and then we'll put that on. So we broke below the 50 as well, right? Yeah, we broke below the 50. And we got the 100-week moving average coming up. So everything is still kind of angled up. You know, it's not totally curled over yet. But what I would say, though, is this could still come down and test 50% of this wick, right? Because I don't have a clear 5 waves. I have 3 down. I have 3 up. I got 1, 2. I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the third, and then maybe we might go 4 and then 5 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this could be an expanded flat. Right now, it's a running flat. If it goes down here, it's a regular flat. If it goes further, that's an expanded flat. So we could see an expanded flat. We could see, you know, something at $1.30, right? If this wants to come down and tag $1.30 and give us some solid candles in there, right? And then we can see that retrace. So we're going to get a retrace, right? We just need this wave to finish. But if I don't want it to break, here's the problem. I don't want it to break this $1.90, because if it breaks that and we go down, And then when we retrace, we may get rejected in that retrace because there's so much resistance here now. So, but you can't deny the shape of the move, right? It's still very bullish. Still very bullish. I mean, look what we've been doing all 2018, 2019, 2020, right? We've been consolidating, accumulating in here, right? We pump up, three-way pullback, consolidate more, and then finally break out. And now you're at this top level here. But not only that, but you have this three-wave move, right? It looks really good. But, you know, so all it needs is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that could be in at the end. So I think, you know, I don't want people to get wrong-footed, but, you know, at the end of the day, for me, I'm just going to wait and see. You know, I already took some profit in here. I took some off the table just in case we have a big crash. But let's talk worst case scenario now. So if this is worst case scenario, then what I would see is you have 3 down, right? And first of all, this move would come down a little bit further. So you have something like this. And then we would get a retrace like this. But then guess what? Then we would just keep coming down, right? And then we might have to test even lower levels down in here, maybe build a little bit of a base, go sideways like this, and then break out. So that's my worst case scenario. And it's not even that bad, right? It's not too bad. In the grand scheme of things, it's not too bad, right? My hope and I pray that we get something like this. We have a 3-wave move, and then we go up and take the top, and then it's over. If that doesn't happen, then, you know, it could be something like this and then go. So it either happens now or a little bit later or a lot later. Right? So if we look at XRP versus Bitcoin, it still looks pretty decent. You know, you got this 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You got this like 3-way move here, or you got 3 down, you got 3 up, and then you got maybe 3 down. So it's in the same kind of a stance, right? So you could see that the bottom, higher lows were trending up, right? This was trending down. So if we take a trend line here, you could see what we did. We completely smashed through it right there. So yeah, and then we're also in this sort of accumulation level. So we're going sideways, right? I mean, I guess you could say like a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout potentially. But, you know, worst case scenario, I think we would come and revisit this part, because it's really, this is the base right here. This is the base right here. Pretty much. So worst case, we would come down and retest the bottom of that area, this range. But I think eventually this range will break to the upside. So other than that, like if you look at something like Rune, it just doesn't look finished. Like I keep saying that in my videos, it doesn't look finished. It needs to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It needs to have that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It needs to have that finished look to it. And then we could start our retrace. So same thing, you know. And then we look at something like Monero. And the way I look at Monero is also very bullish. But what I don't know is either we can break out now, or this is going to turn into a flat. 3 down, 3 up, and then we get maybe 5 down. So A, B, C, and then we go up. That's what I think is happening with Monero. I think it still looks really bullish. I mean, look at all of these years down here just going sideways. We're just going sideways. So it's building and building and building. And yeah, recently we had this little pump in here. So I think this could be a flat, something like this, right? Some kind of a flat. Or it could be a little bit of a flag in here and then go up and finish the move. Because when I look at basically all the altcoins, like others, it just looks bearish. I mean, this looks to me bearish. The reason it does, it just doesn't look finished, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that's 1. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's A. And then you have 1, 2, 3. That's B. And then you have 1, 2, we're not finished, 3, 4, 5 down for C. And that would be 2. And then we can go up. So that's how I see the market. I still think that this three-way move is not finished. I think it needs to come down and finish, and then we can have a serious retrace or even a potential breakout, right? Otherwise, this is a reversal, and this is coming down, which I think it's going to come down regardless, right? So maybe 3 down, and if it's really bearish, then we would get 3 up, and then a continuation down, and then go sideways, and then go up. So it'd be like a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, and then blast off. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully that's not the case, right? Basically, what happened is the altcoins topped in the retrace, right? So Bitcoin had a bull run. The altcoins only had a retrace. Now Bitcoin could be in a bear market. Well, guess what? Now the altcoins, instead of going into a bear market, they are continuing the bear market, going into reaccumulation. Just like XRP, right? If you look at XRP, look at this. Look at this. Right here. Right in front of us. Look. Remember, Bitcoin had a massive bull cycle right here. And so did all the altcoins. But if you look at XRP, it only went into a retrace. Let me get rid of that. So it went into a retrace. And Bitcoin bear market happened at the top of the retrace. But instead of XRP going into a bear market, XRP continued its bear market that it was already in, and it went into reaccumulation, right? So that's what we can see with others, with basically the altcoins, which is what? Well, if Bitcoin had already topped and it's possible that the altcoins topped as well, but only in a retrace, and then we still have to go down into reaccumulation, then we go sideways, then we break out. Just like what XRP did, right? Just like what XRP has been doing, right? So anyways, let's see here. Like if we look at XLM or ADA, this is a good example, because if you look at this, it doesn't look finished. You have an A, you have a B, and you have a C, but we need C to come down a little bit more and finish, and then we can see a retrace. So here's the cool part about it. If we get a retrace and then a continuation, then we can go bull cycle later. But if this is a legit 1, 2, 3, and then 4, we could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have a massive W, a cup, and a handle. You have this support in here. You're flagging out, and then you break out. Or you go into reaccumulation and then you break out later. So which one's it going to be? We shall see. Yes, it looks bearish right now, right? It looks like it still needs to come down a little bit, but we should be getting some nines in here coming in. Yeah, we had a few. But what I don't like about XLM, and the reason I don't think it's quite finished, is because it was bottlenecking in here. Now it's bottlenecking down in here. Instead of having, you know, a nice little move, like a nice three-way move, it's like bottlenecking, then it shoots down, right? So it's kind of like there's a lot of weight that's weighing it down aggressively. So once it finishes, then we should see a retrace. Because if you just look at something like this, right, it doesn't look finished either. This is capitulation, right? Once this capitulates, then that's it. It's over. The worst part is over. And then it's all about the recovery and the reach, you know, and all that stuff. So, now look at SHIB. Remember what we talked about with SHIB. We think, you know, we're testing 50% of the wick. You know, that's just a requirement a lot of times. So, yeah, let's see if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then this is 1, 2, 3. We still need 4. We still need 5. And that could be our finished move in here, right? For the fifth wave. Same thing with theta. Literally the same thing, right? If this is, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you also have 1, 2, 3, right? Is this 4 and 5, or do we have to get 4 and then 5 still? That's the question. Now, like ADA, you could see ADA, it's dumping hard, right? But that is not such of a bad thing. Like, let's see, we have a trend line right here, and we've been talking about this trend, or I've been referencing it, like, hey, look, we need to come down and potentially finish the move here. So if this is an impulse and this is a three-wave move down, and we have a trend line here, and we have horizontal support, then you have to realize, yeah, we're probably going to get a bounce in here. We're probably going to get a bounce in here very, very soon. I don't think quite ready yet. It looks, you know, like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. You need a 4 and then maybe a 5. So it looks okay right here. Let me see here. So you could kind of see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. You know, so it is a good chance that we could be bottoming in here, or at least a short-term bottom for a little bit of a bounce in here. You know, like a counter trend rally. So you can kind of see this little bit of a trend line right there, and then you got this. So I would look maybe for a buying opportunity somewhere in here. That would be interesting. We have to see how it continues to progress, but like CRV looks bearish to me. It looks like, you know, look how massively bottlenecking that is, and then it drops, and it just looks like it needs to come down and finish. Basically, that's everything. Yeah, you could see the bottlenecking right there. All of this crap. So see how it bottlenecks right there, and then it drops. Same thing here. Bottlenecking, drop. So that's probably what we're dealing with here. So I think this is definitely an important video. It's like Link, for example, chain link, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like it needs to be A, B, and it looks like it needs to come down for C. Now C could land here, it could land here, or it can land down there. You know, it's kind of a tough one. But this is what we'll do. We take a line, the very top, and then we're going to go all the way down. Okay, then we're going to take this and we're going to put it right there. So that's my target right there for a link, which is $8. And look at that. It actually lines up perfectly with the back test. Well, would you look at that? Right? So you got all of this support in here. Support. So this is really, really good support in here. And if we got down there, then the wave would actually have more development and it would look like it could potentially finish. You get a little bit of base, then you get a retrace. And that retrace could turn into reaccumulation and we break out. It could turn into a flag and then break out. Or, you know, we would be going rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We're going to be going sideways for a little while before breaking out. You know, same thing with Link. Same thing with HBAR, right? It needs to come down. You get the A, B, and let's get the C. Let's finish the C wave. And let's get down here to support and fill in this little spot and then get the retrace. So there you go. That's what I think everything is doing. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. Like AVAX was supposed to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then get this move down and this move here, but that didn't work. So this looks bearish, and there's not a lot of support down here either. So what we could see from from AVAX is you have an impulse, you have an A, you have a B, and now look, you're bottlenecking in here, so it's probably gonna have a big drop, and then A, B, C, and then you get down here, and then you retrace. Which is kind of scary to think about it, because if that's what it's saying, we're bottlenecking in here, this could be a massive dump coming soon. So we could see a big liquidation coming in the market, right? And then like XRP, you already had this massive liquidation. So then it comes down and it finishes the gaps in here, right? But I don't like XRP right here, because look, it's all tight and it's bottlenecking. Boom, 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 right? So this tells me like, I don't like this a lot. So it could have a big dump. And if we get that big dump, then maybe get the retrace. So I just don't like the shape of this wave. So yeah, I wish I could come on here and say, yeah, you know, we're super bullish, we're going to be going up. But I don't think so. I think we're going to be, like I said earlier, I think this has to come down and finish. Look at the bottlenecking right there. See how tight it was? Boom, 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 and then it dumps. So same thing with XDC. You have an impulse. You have a three-way pullback. It doesn't look finished. It needs to come down and finish. Let's get a little bit of a finishing move in here and then go up. So I'm basically bearish short term until I say otherwise. So, but is it frustrating? Is it bad? No, you can't control it. Look, what do you do during this time? You let it dump. You let it capitulate, and then if you get a lot of aggressive selling, like let's say this comes down aggressively, right? Then there's no reason why we can't continue to dollar cost average. You can say, well, I don't want a dollar cost average if the price is going to be, going down for a little while. Well, that's true, but you still want to pick, anytime you have a big dump, you still want to add a little bit, in my opinion, not financial advice. But I always like to add just a little bit, there and there, because over time, let's say 6 months, a year, 2 years, over time, you look at it, you go, wow, look how much I accumulated. I didn't even know I had all this much. Because I look at crypto like a piggy bank. I got an extra couple quarters, I put it in the piggy bank. Got a couple extra dollars, I put it in the piggy bank, right? And you don't realize how much you have in there unless you're continuing to check your portfolio. Oh my God, it's down 20% today. Yeah, but look how many coins you have. Don't look at the value of the coins. Look at how many you have, because one day, obviously they have to be good coins. They can't be completely crap coins, right? So anyways, like Theta Fuel, this looks like it's capitulating, and I don't think it's finished. So but it doesn't have that bottlenecking crap. It looks more organic. I have oscillation in the waves. I have good wave structure here. I just don't have a finished move yet where I could get real comfortable saying, yeah, I think we probably bottomed, and then we got to go into a retrace. So let's see how it plays out. And TOTAL3, I mean, it's the same kind of situation, right? We got to get this wave to come down and finish. We have potentially a flat A, B, and a C. Right? We're right at the all-time highs. So there's no bull market here. We haven't went into the bull market. Look, the market is the same price it was back over here, guys, back in 2022, 2021. So think about all the inflation we had in 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and we're at the same damn price? Right? But we've been going up for a while. We've been going up this whole time. So we need a little bit of a break. We need to relax and build a base and chill out, maybe go sideways a little bit, then break out later. Right? So if this can come down as a flat, you know, something like this, and then break out. So we'll see. And I will catch you guys on the next one.